Hi guys, it's the Filthy Casual here, coming at you with a Challenge Rift video for Challenge Rift 80. Happy New Year! I hope you had a great party, I hope you had a great night. This video is a little bit late. I drank too much Jack Daniels on New Year's Eve, but that's a different story. Now, I'm hoping to have a good year on YouTube. I'm going to make 100 videos, I hope. I think 2 weeks should be quite doable. So if you could show me some love, show me some encouragement, that would be absolutely awesome. It'd really help me out. If I could set a like goal, 2 likes for this video, that'd be great. Now, the way that this Challenge Rift video is going to work is, in the background you're going to see me flicking through the build and looking at the skills, trying to work out how the build works and what to do. So I'll loop that round whilst I tell you how the build works, and then we'll cut to the actual gameplay, and I'll probably talk about something else. You've got a pair of eyes, it's not that hard a Challenge Rift, so you'll be able to follow along the route that I go. Now, honestly, I don't care about the leaderboard spec on this. I don't care where I finish. All I want to do is get my mats and get back to playing. Some people presumably like Challenge Rifts. If you do, maybe drop me a comment. Let me know what it is that you like about them. But for me, they're just a means to an end. I do them every week just to get the mats, because let's face it, anything's better than bounties. So Challenge Rift 80 gives us the Barbarian, and we're going to be using the IK set. Now IK is a pretty good set, mainly because the damage multiplier is pretty high. It's 1500%, and that's on everything that you use, provided 2 things. Firstly, you've got to have Call of the Ancients up, and secondly, Wrath of the Berserker have to be active. Now the 2-piece from IK means that your Call of the Ancients last until they die, so you can set them and forget them. Once you've popped them, you don't need to touch them again. Wrath of the Berserker is a little bit different. You pop it, but it's obviously on quite a big cooldown. And this is where the 4-piece of IK comes in, because what that says is for every 10 points of fury you spend, you bring the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker by 3 seconds. So naturally, you want to spend as much fury as possible to bring that cooldown as low as possible, because 1500% damage is pretty big. Now your skill to use your resource in this build is Whirlwind, so you're pretty much going to hold that down most of the way through the rift, basically until you run out of resource and are forced to press Frenzy to generate a little bit more. Now this player's got one of the passives on that lets you regenerate Fury, but it's pretty slow, so you are actually going to hit things with Fury. Now that actually works out quite well, because another big multiplier that you've got in this build is the player is wearing Focus and Restraint. So you'll always be proccing the resource spending aspect of this for a 50% damage increase when you press Whirlwind, but you actually physically have to hit something with Frenzy to get the other 50%. So ideally, if you're playing this build to its max, you would be whirlwinding and hitting things, proccing 50% damage, and then every few seconds you'll hit Frenzy, hit an enemy with it, and proc the other 50%. Now there is a further source of damage multiplication, which is on the shoulders, and that's a 24% damage increase for when you're whirlwinding. So it's quite straightforward damage wise. Wrath of the Berserker has to be up with Call of the Ancients, and then you just whirlwind with the occasional Frenzy thrown in. Now looking at your defense, your toughness, the Barbarian's obviously quite a tough class naturally, but the rune that this guy's gone with on Call of the Ancients gives you a 50% damage reduction, and that should be flat all the time. The rune for Wrath of the Berserker, they've also picked the damage reduction rune for that, so you've got another 50% damage reduction there, but obviously that's only applicable whilst Wrath of the Berserker is up. Whilst you're whirlwinding, you're going to get 25% damage reduction from your shoulders. So you've got a few sources. You're not invulnerable, but it's not a challenge. As long as you don't get hit with an explosion, then you should be fine. You've actually got 2 mobility skills in the build as well. You've got Leap and you've got Furious Charge. Now Furious Charge is quite good for zipping across the map to an enemy that you can see, and I use that quite a lot. Now Leap, you probably don't want to bother using terribly much. You want to just concentrate on moving around with Whirlwind, but it's not the worst skill in the world. You'll see in the footage I overuse it, and that's mainly because I'm used to playing Leap Quick, so I just have this natural inbuilt tendency to press the Leap button. But if you go a bit easier than I do, you'll probably get a better time than me. The only other real item of any note is that you've got the Thunder God's Vigor Belt, so you see loads of lightning going across the screen when you're playing. It's not really doing much for you. Looks kind of cool, but really it's not adding to the damage. Now, I complained last time I made one of these videos that the builds that they give us are generally crap. This is better, it is at least a 6-piece, but still, it's not geared correctly, the cooldown's far too low, most of the items don't make sense, the legendary gems, I mean at least this week they're over 25, but you've got the gem of Toxin in there, and that's quite pointless. But hey ho, we're stuck with it. So, let's give this a whirl and jump into the gameplay. Now, as I say, it's a pretty easy challenge rift, so you can make your way around yourself. We're nearly at the end of Season 15. I'm really excited for Season 16, and particularly patch 2.6.4. I haven't really played Season 15 much. 2.6.1 has lasted far too long, and the game's felt a little bit stale. I think you need a balance change, at least in between seasons. The season's themes have been good, but they haven't been enough to get me playing. I mean, double bounty mats. Even if you offered me triple, I probably wouldn't play just for them. I'd rather just use my off-season character and get the mats that way. Now this time around it's going to be different. I think IK actually is going to be a very interesting start. It's probably going to be the most new player friendly starting set. The damage is going to be absolutely huge because it's going from 1500, as you've seen in the video, up to 4000. So that's nearly 3 times the damage. And I think that's quite forgiving, particularly when you compare it with some very easy items to get early on. I'm hoping to get a GR70 or Barbarian starter guide, because I think for Season 16 I'm going to go Barb to start with, and I'm going to be going hardcore. I just like Barb. I think it's a cool class. I haven't played it for a couple of seasons, so that'll be quite interesting. Now, the main thing that I think's going to happen for Season 16 is you're going to find that Legacy of Nightmare builds are going to top the leaderboards. I've got a few that I've pre-made. I'm just waiting for the damage buff to go through, and then I'm hoping to be getting some build guide videos out. Next season I think I'm going to play Barb, I'm going to play Crusader, and I'm going to play Necromancer. I think I'm going to do all 3 of those on hardcore. So quite excited to see if I can get any of my builds onto the leaderboard and maybe top 50, maybe go a little bit higher. I'm actually going on holiday for 3 weeks of the season, so I'm not sure I'm going to have time to grind out the augments for everything. I think the Royal Ring of Grandeur buff for Season 16 is going to be quite interesting. Probably not going to use it too much myself, be using it on the Barbarian. I'll have to work out what's going to be best for that. I think it'd be useful for speed farming, for getting DBs and that kind of thing. But it's probably not going to be much use for the Legacy of Nightmare builds. And that's a bit of a shame really, because the season theme I think is probably going to go by the wayside, because I can definitely see LON being the most popular build for Necromancer. I can definitely see it being the top build for Crusader. About the other classes, yeah, maybe not. So maybe if you don't play those, then the Rogue buff will be more interesting for you. I like the idea of season themes. I'm really into the fact that the season's going to be 2 months. I think, generally speaking, 1 to 70 is a kind of fun process. Sometimes I don't like it. It can be a bit bore-achy to get to the end of it. But in general, it's the feeling of finding something that being really powerful is what I like. So the fact that we get to do that again in just 2 months' time is nice. And it's always in the early parts of the season when you find gear that actually really makes an impact to your build. You find something and you might get 15 or 20% more damage from a good item. And obviously once you're completing your build, you're jumping up quite dramatically. And I think that's what it's about really, isn't it? You want to find loot that's going to make you much better. There's no point in finding items that don't really do much for you. So all in all, I'm looking forward to season 16 with it being shorter. I hope they keep the 2 months. I think it's potentially going to be quite an interesting one. If I'm right on a couple of my builds and the calculations that I've done for them, then yeah, I think Legacy of Nightmares is going to be the way to go. It's a bit of a pain because it means collecting a lot of gear, but I think actually the mechanic in the game, it should be like that. If there's something that's rare, it should be better. That's kind of how it really should work for me. Well, there you go. That's the challenge rift over. My time's crap. I'm sure you'll do better. But anyway, I hope this video has been useful for you. As I say, if you could drop me a like, drop me a subscribe, that would absolutely make my day. And if you stuck to the end of the video, thank you very much. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.